They don't have to ruin your life. All they need to do is make you feel something, like anger, shame, or guilt. One wrong emotional reaction, and you give them control over your mind. Machiavelli figured this out a long time ago. Whoever controls your emotions controls your future. Your enemies won't always come at you with violence. They'll come at you through your feelings. They'll twist your loyalty, feed your fears, play with your hopes. And the second you react emotionally, you've already lost. But what if you didn't react? What if their insults didn't get through to you? What if their praise meant nothing to you? What if your silence scared them more than your anger ever could? To be emotionally powerful is to be unreadable, not cold-hearted, but careful, not emotionless, but unaffected. This isn't about not having feelings. It's about not showing them to people who will use them against you. Because once you gain control over your emotions, you become the one others fear. There's a lie you've been told since you were born, that feeling everything deeply means you're living fully, that caring is always good, that being emotionally sensitive makes you a better person. But Machiavelli would ask you this: who really benefits from your sensitivity? It's not you. The more feelings you show, the easier it is for others to use them. The more you care, the more people take advantage. And the more you react, the more power others have over you. Becoming emotionally dangerous. Real power begins when you stop reacting emotionally. But here's what weak people never understand. You don't have to shut down your heart to become emotionally strong. You don't have to stop being human. Just stop being reactive. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming careful. You still feel things. You still have thoughts. But you don't show your emotions to everyone. You don't give away your feelings for free. You keep them private. You turn them into tools. You use them when they help you, not when they hurt you. The change starts when you stop needing to be understood. You don't look for approval, pity, or emotional support. You don't explain yourself to everyone. You just focus on getting things done. Because Machiavelli quietly said this in The Prince: it's better to be feared than loved. If you can't be both, emotions might make people love you. But fear comes from control, and control comes from mastering your emotions. So how do you stay calm without feeling empty? You start by changing how you view emotions. Most people use their emotions to decide what to do. They act when they're angry, talk when they're hurt, run when they're scared. That's basic. That's how animals behave. You're not here to act like prey. You're here to become the predator, calm, smart, and steady. A man who's emotionally strong watches his reactions like a commander watches a war. He doesn't panic when someone betrays him. He doesn't back down when threatened. He stays silent when silence causes more fear. This man doesn't yell. He waits. He doesn't beg. He disappears. He doesn't fall apart. He resets and plans his next move because he knows what most people don't. Your calm is your weapon. Your stillness sends a message. And your ability to stay unaffected gives you real power. But to reach that point, you must stop needing emotional approval. Stop chasing compliments. Stop trying to be understood. Stop telling your pain to people who will use it against you later. You don't owe your heart to the world. What you owe yourself is freedom. The shift happens when you begin to guard your emotional energy, like treasure. You don't react to every insult. You don't explain every decision. You don't justify your ambition to people who never built anything. And most importantly, you detach. Not because you don't care, but because caring too much makes you predictable. And predictable men are replaceable. This is the art Machiavelli practiced in the shadows: to wear masks, not to lie, but to protect, to remain unreadable, not to deceive, but to dominate. This shift from emotional chaos to controlled detachment is your evolution. The moment you stop allowing feelings to dictate your movements, you start moving others without them ever touching you. This is the power of the cold. Not cruel, but invulnerable. Not heartless, but unreachable. You are no longer a man who gets moved. You are the man who moves others. And once you cross that threshold, you don't just become emotionally dangerous, you become emotionally untouchable. Look around you. Power is no longer taken by brute force. It's taken through emotion, through manipulation, guilt, shame, and distraction. You're not being conquered with swords. You're being conquered with words. They don't need to break your body. They just need to provoke your feelings, and you'll destroy yourself from the inside. Every time you react emotionally, how to control your emotions? You give them something to work with. A sigh of frustration, a tear of disappointment, a flare of rage. These moments might feel justified to you, but to someone watching closely, they're blueprints, maps of your psychological weaknesses. They now know what bothers you. They know how to destabilize you, and worse, how to control you. Emotions are not private. They're public signals, and in the game of power, the one who broadcasts their emotions is the one who bleeds first. This is where most people fail. They believe being emotional means being real. They believe opening up makes them brave. But Machiavelli would laugh at that foolishness. He knew better. He wrote for men who wanted to rule, not for men who wanted to be liked. He understood that power is cold. Power is silent. Power feels nothing unless it must. You think you're being honest when you cry, but what you're really doing is exposing a wound in front of people who would love to push deeper. You think you're strong for yelling back, but you've already been baited and they're smiling while you explode. This is how kings fall, how empires rot, how strong men become pawns through emotion, not through failure, but through their inability to detach. And the tragedy is most people are proud of their emotional reactions. They say, "At least I'm being authentic." Authentic number. You're being predictable. You're being readable. You're being weak. In a world that watches everything, emotional transparency is suicide. Let's be very clear. If your enemies can make you angry, they can make you act without thinking. If your friends can guilt you, they can make you compromise your principles. If your memories control you, the past will own your future. And if your heart is always open, someone will come along and crush it for sport. The enemy doesn't want to kill your body. They want to control your decisions. And they do that by triggering your emotions. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how good your intentions are. If you can't control your emotional output, you will never be powerful. Because in the game of power, emotions are currency, and you're leaking yours for the hidden war. Free. Let that sink in. Every outburst is a donation to your enemy's strategy. This is the hidden war no one talks about. Not a war of bullets and blades, but a war of reactions. And the truth is this: you're not losing because you're not capable. You're losing because you're emotionally exposed. You think they don't see your insecurities. They do. You think they don't know you crave approval. They smell it, and they use it against you until you feel trapped, drained, confused. Not because the world is cruel, but because you never learned how to armor your emotions. And that right there is the problem. Emotional control is not a gift. It's a skill. And like any weapon, it must be sharpened, tested, and mastered in silence. Machiavelli didn't rely on luck, fate, or virtue. He relied on preparation. He believed that a wise man does at once what a fool does, finally. So if you want to become emotionally dangerous, you must train for it ruthlessly, not by suppressing your emotions, but by dissecting them, rewiring them, and weaponizing your response. Here's how the process begins. Step 1. Pause before you react. This is the first sign of power, stillness. When something provokes you, pause. Not for a minute, not for peace, but to observe. Let your silence make them uncomfortable while they wait for your reaction. Study theirs. The longer you wait, the more power shifts in your direction. And most of the time, that pause will reveal the truth. You'll see their intention, their insecurity, their weakness. They wanted control, you gave them silence, and now they're exposed. Replace emotion with strategy. Step 2. Replace emotion with strategy. The average man reacts with feelings. The powerful man responds with tactics. Instead of asking, "How do I feel about this?" ask, "What gives me the most control here?" Detach from your ego. Detach from your pride. Detach even from your need to be right. Right means nothing if you lose the game. You want the advantage, not the emotional release. Revenge isn't slamming the door. It's walking away while they self-destruct. You don't need to get even. You need to rise above. So far they become irrelevant. Step 3. Train your triggers. You must know your weaknesses before the world does. What gets under your skin? Is it disrespect, rejection, being ignored? Good. Now make it your training ground. Put yourself in situations where that exact trigger appears again and again, not to suffer, but to dominate the feeling it brings. Let them insult you and stay calm. Let them lie and stay composed. Let them underestimate you and stay silent. Each time you refuse to react, the trigger dies a little, and soon you'll find nothing moves you unless you choose it. That is true power. Step 4. Control your facial expressions. The face is the battlefield. Machiavelli understood, men watch for weakness in the eyes before they make their move. Your face must become unreadable. No twitch, no drop in posture, no change in gaze. Train yourself in the mirror. Say less than necessary. Practice stillness. Practice neutrality. Smile only when it benefits you. Frown only when it sends a message. Every look is calculated, and when they try to provoke you, give them nothing but a calm, surgical stare. Let their confusion grow. Let their power fade. Step 5. Say less than necessary. Words are currency, and most people spend theirs like beggars. You want power. Then speak with precision. Let silence fill the gaps between your sentences. The emotionally weak explain everything. They rant, they justify, they confess. You speak only to command, correct, or confuse. Let your stillness speak louder than their noise. Let your unpredictability breed fear, because when they don't know what you're thinking, they'll assume the worst. And that assumption is your shield. These 5 methods: pause, reframe, train, harden your face, and speak less. They are not tricks, they are disciplines. And the more you practice them, the more emotionally invincible you become. Not by running from pain, but by learning to process it privately and convert it into strength. This is what Machiavelli would call the inner fortress, an invisible layer of armor around your soul. Most people defend castles. You build walls within your mind. Walls no one can breach, not even with love, hate, or betrayal. And that is the method, not for surviving, but for dominating. When you finally gain control over your emotions, your entire life begins to shift. People respond to you differently. Conversations become shorter. Silence becomes your strongest language. You no longer need to prove anything. Your calm presence says it all. Most people walk through the world, the shift being completely reactive. Their faces show every irritation. Their words are rushed, and their emotions are easy to read. They think they're being honest or expressive, but really, they're giving away power. When you stop doing that, when you become emotionally disciplined, you become something people don't know how to handle. You'll notice people hesitate before they speak to you. They'll test you once, maybe twice, but then they'll stop. They realize quickly that their tricks don't work on you. You don't get flustered, you don't chase, and you don't beg. You stay still, and that stillness makes you dangerous because they can't read you, and they don't know what you'll do next. This emotional control gives you quiet power. You don't have to argue or raise your voice. You don't have to explain yourself. People start taking you seriously, not because you demand it, but because your behavior forces it. The less you show, the more people start to fear what you might be thinking. That fear, that uncertainty, becomes a kind of control. You also stop relying on people emotionally. You're no longer attached to their approval, their praise, or their attention. You become more self-contained, more difficult to reach. People realize they can't influence you with guilt or compliments. You don't get swayed easily, and that your identity makes you immune to most of the emotional traps others fall into. Over time, your emotional discipline becomes your identity. Others begin to look at you as the one who doesn't get rattled. They adjust their tone around you. They think twice before crossing a line. You don't have to say much because your silence already carries weight. People who once underestimated you now become cautious. They realize you're not the kind of person they can manipulate or play games with. This is the transformation. You don't just gain respect, you gain presence. And presence is more powerful than noise. You become the person others measure themselves against, not because you tried to be intimidating, but because you remove the one thing that makes most people weak: uncontrolled emotion. That's what it means to become emotionally dangerous. You don't attack, you don't explain, you don't beg. You simply stop being available to the games, and in doing so, you rise above all of them. Emotional power is not something you achieve once and forget. It's not a trophy you place on a shelf. It's not a phase you go through. It's a discipline, one that requires daily awareness, daily restraint, and daily control. You don't become emotionally dangerous by accident. You become it through repetition, through decision, and through refusal. Maintaining emotional power, refusal to react, refusal to explain, and refusal to hand over control to anyone. Most people lose their emotional edge because they relax. They think they've outgrown their triggers. They let people in too quickly. They start trusting without filters. And just like that, they go soft, not physically, but emotionally. They react to disrespect. They explain when questioned. They let anger or sadness leak through their voice, and the power they once held quietly slips away. To maintain emotional power, you must remain in control of the most dangerous weapon you carry: your response. Your mind will get tested. Your patience will be challenged. Your values will be pushed. People will insult you just to see if you flinch. They'll lie to you to see if you beg for the truth. They'll ignore you to see if you break your silence. And every time you respond like the average man, you give them what they want: certainty, leverage, power. But when you respond with nothing, you take it all back. This discipline starts in the mind. You must learn to observe your emotions like a strategist studies an enemy. When something angers you, don't react. Analyze it. When someone disrespects you, don't defend yourself. Remember it. When you feel sadness, loneliness, or confusion, don't drown in it. Step back, look at it, use it. Because your feelings are real, but they don't all deserve your action. Most of them are just noise, designed to throw you off balance. The strong man lets them pass like weather. He remains the same in sunshine and storm. Another key to maintaining emotional power is detachment. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop attaching your peace to things you can't control. You stop expecting people to be loyal, honest, or kind. You stop assuming you'll be understood. Instead, you prepare. You expect betrayal. You anticipate disrespect. You realize that in a tough world, people do what's best for themselves, not for you. And once you understand that, nothing really surprises you anymore. You're not easily shaken. You start to build emotional distance. You keep your thoughts private, your feelings even more private, and your reactions hidden behind a wall. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to argue with people who don't understand you or match your level. You speak only when it benefits you. You act only when it brings real results. Everything else, you let go. A man who is emotionally strong lives like a shadow. He's there, but people can't touch him. He doesn't react to every insult. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't need approval. His worth comes from what he keeps to himself. His power comes from what he doesn't show. And that mystery, that emotional silence, earns more respect than 1,000 words ever could. You also have to protect your space. Don't keep people around who create drama. Don't waste time explaining yourself to those who like confusion. Choose silence over pointless talk. Choose being alone over fake friendships. Because the world is full of people who act like they care just to get information. You don't need that. What you need is peace. And peace comes from being in control of your feelings, your space, and your time. Staying emotionally strong means always being ready, even when things are calm. You stay sharp during quiet times, so you're powerful when problems return. You train yourself to keep a straight face, speak in a calm voice, and stay focused. You don't practice being angry. You practice staying in control. That's where true power is. Not in yelling, but in staying silent. In the end, emotional strength becomes your biggest advantage. Not money, not words, not even physical strength. It's your ability to stay calm when the world tries to upset you. That's real power. That's real control. That's real courage. And that's how you stay dangerous. Quietly, steadily, always. If this message stirred something inside you, if it made you think even a little, then like this video. And if you want more raw truth about power, control, and strategy, subscribe to the channel. This isn't just motivation. This is training. Stay sharp, stay cold, stay in control, and never let them see you bleed.